What is going on, everybody? What is going on? Shout out to everybody who is here on this special live stream. As y'all know, I only go live once a week, and that's on Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I had to come on here this evening and do this live stream / roast that I've been telling people about, especially on Twitter, for like the last couple of days ever since this whole situation kicked up. But shout out to everybody who was in here so far. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to go ahead and hit the like button, hit the share button. I would definitely greatly appreciate it. Get this out to as many people as you possibly can. Before we really get started, let me give some shout outs to those who are in the chat. And it's a lot of y'all so far. Hacksign KT, almost shouted myself out. DSA1, James Hudson, Pinky JYB, Janesta, DSM Sinister, The Ethnicist, TD Hip Hop Media, All Things Travel, Mainly Cruising, Antoine Ball, Sean from the Shop, the auntie of the channel, One Up, Grape Shot, Cold Red 713, Blacklight Revelations 2, Dwayne Williams, Jay Barrett, who else is in here? Beat Up, Kid Gravity, Hebrew Israel, Braves Club, Frida Israel, Tangi 2936, and I'm trying to see Lee Holmes. I'm trying to make sure I don't repeat any names. Dark Titan, Miss Brooklyn 11232, Zarp, Beatzilla, Lions Den, The Real King James, Gregory Tony, Yamina, Kelvin Black, and shout out to Amara for the for the Cash App. Sorry, that just came through on my phone. See, Tildall 12, American Dream is just that. Dolls 1000, Tina Ferguson, Lakeisha, Natanya, Judah 1971, and so on and so forth. I'm so glad that people are starting to pile on in right now, because this is a very good, this is a very interesting stream that I'm gonna be having this evening. I've been hyping myself up for the last couple of days to get ready for it. The reason why I'm having it today is because I wanted to wait for more information to come out with this situation. It's a damn good thing that I did wait, because a lot, and I do mean a lot, has come out since Sunday, when all of this really kind of blew up. And here we are on Wednesday. But before we really get into it, I need everyone in the chat who's in the chat right now to spam the chat with 10s. Put some 10s in the chat. I'm going to put my 10 right now. In case y'all are unaware, 10 is Angel Reese's jersey number. That is her jersey number, is 10. So put some 10s in the chat for me. I would definitely appreciate that. Yes, I'm loving it. All the 10s are rolling in right now. I'm loving what I'm seeing. I'm loving what I am seeing. And y'all know that this is a special stream, because y'all know I don't turn the music on all the time before my streams. Usually I just come on and just talk to y'all for a couple minutes and then we get started. But I said, let me just go ahead and let the chat vibe out right quick to some royalty-free music, so I will not be getting an email from YouTube. So I want to make sure of that. But yes, I'm glad everybody is coming on in right now. I wish y'all could see the top of my tab list right now. I probably got about 20 tabs open, dedicated to what we're going to be talking about tonight. And most of them are from Twitter. And shout out to DSB for being a member for 2 months. I definitely appreciate it. And shout out to all the members on the channel. Shout out to all of my patrons on Patreon. I really, really, really appreciate y'all. For real, for real. Dwayne said YouTube be on the beat. Oh yeah, I already know. That's another reason why I let the stream start the way that it does. I don't jump right into it, because I know those notifications don't come out at the time that they should. Some come out when they should, some come out late. So I let 10 minutes go by or so, that by the time I really get started, no one has missed anything. That's all a strategy. That's all a strategy. Also, shout out to Kid Gravity for being a member for a full year, 12 months. Definitely shout out to you. Definitely shout out to you. He said Angel got many Coons on code for 12 hours. She did, and we're gonna talk about that. Like I told you, we're gonna cover as much as we possibly can. That's why when I told people on Sunday, I said when I pull this grill, I said I might have to extend it because I'm thinking I'm working with a small dome grill. I'm working with one of those long silver cover, you know, those silver cover grills. Kid Gravity, you know what I'm talking about because you a chef by trade. Those big grills that has to be from one end to the next. That's what I'm dealing with today, because it went from having to want to roast one person to having to roast several, all because of this one incident that should not have happened. DSM Sensor, he's a jerk drum or the Weber one. Okay. Right, Rob, long stream style, not as long as not a long stream like yours. I'm not, listen, we ain't doing no 3-4 hour stream. I'm gonna try to keep it to an hour and a half to about 2 hours, but I'm gonna get my points out. I'll put it like that. And shout out to everybody who is coming in right now, everyone that's just piling into the room. I definitely appreciate everybody being here because we have a lot to talk about, and I'm sure many of you. Shout out to the voices of the new black media because so many people have already covered this. I'm probably one of the last to talk about this. I'm not saying I am the last, but one of the last to talk about it. Shout out to Kid Gravity. Who else? Beatzilla, Afro Elite, Professor Black Truth, and if I forgot anybody else, Harvey over at Your World. All of them have already given their takes on it. Now it is time for me to go ahead and do mine. So we're going to kick this off with where all of this started at. We all know who the culprit was that pretty much kicked this thing off with a particular tweet and blew this thing up bigger than what it was. So let me go ahead and share my screen right quick. Let me see something here. Like I said, I got a lot of tabs open, so y'all got to forgive me. And that was with Keith Olbermann. And shout out to DSB for the $5 super chat. He said, I see you, Kid Gravity. I warrior brother. Much respect for all of my brothers and sisters. Shout out to you and shout out to everybody in here. But we have to go to the foundation of where all of this really kicked off and blew up in a way that it should not have. And that is with Keith Olbermann, this old fossil right here, who's pretty much as expired as a day old carton of gallon of milk. We're going to get to that, Rob, and shout out to you. And also, before I even get into this, shout out to all of the people who follow me, whether they make content or not, who was sending me stuff. Rob was sending me things. Rob sent me something today. Kid Gravity has been sending me things. A lot of people have been sending me stuff, you know, to get me prepared to talk about this. So if y'all want to know why this stream is going to be kind of long, y'all can thank them. But I mean, we ain't gonna hold it against them. We trying to cover as much ground as we possibly can, so we don't have to come back to this later. And if we do, hey, it just is what it is. But Keith Olbermann kicked this whole thing off with this tweet right here on April 2nd, 2023, when Angel Reese had did, of course, the infamous, you know, this to Caitlin Clark when they was about to lose to LSU to win the NCAA tournament for the women's division. And then Keith Olbermann came back and replied to this post and said, what a fucking idiot. That's what he called her. He said, what an effing idiot. Not an idiot, but an effing idiot. He said that with extreme, harsh intent behind that. Shout out to Afro. Hey, Afro, I just gave you a shout out in the stream just a couple minutes ago. I don't know if you caught it or not, but I was just acknowledging you covering or talking about the story. I think you had talked about it in a premiere video last night. But when he said this, I immediately thought of Don Imus when he's called those black female players years ago nappy-headed hoes. I immediately thought of that. That's literally what came to mind when he said what he said. And then he doubled down on what he said right here. Hold on, I'm not even sharing the screen. Wait a minute. I thought I was sharing the screen. Okay. I thought I was sharing the screen. I thought it was on, but anyway, here it is right here. He said, "What an effing idiot." But then he doubled down on what he said. And he said, "Doesn't matter the gender, the sport, the background. You're seconds away from a championship and you do something like this and overshadow all the good, all the good, mindless, classless. And what kind of coach does this team have?" See, he didn't even have all the facts as he comes back to it with this tweet right here, where he says, "I apologize for being uninformed last night about the backstory on this." Well, then you shouldn't have said anything. You immediately was ready to jump down this woman's throat because of something you saw. But it doesn't stop there. He says, "I don't follow hoops, college or pro, men or women." Then you really shouldn't be saying anything at all then. He said, "I had no idea about Clark. Both were wrong. This is what I said in today's Countdown podcast second segment about 24 minutes in." He said, "In sports, Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark are star women's college basketball players. In an Elite Eight game, Clark of Iowa scored 40 points and had a triple-double and made a wrestling gesture, meaning you can't see me, to her opponents. Last night, Reese and LSU beat Clark in Iowa for the title 102-85, and Reese made the same gesture to Clark and added another one, indicating she was getting the championship ring. Reese was named MVP of the tournament. Actually, she was named MOP, but okay, of the tournament, and nobody will remember that, nor the LSU crown. Just the fact that women's hoops has now achieved parity with the men. Its stars can be classless winners who are willing to overshadow their team's victories." He thought writing that little piece right there was going to absolve him of what he just said in the tweet before it. Mind you, this was after they already got into his ass, because if you look at the dates, this tweet right here that kicked it all off and the one he followed up with was posted on the 2nd. And then he came back with this one on the 3rd. And you're right, Kid Gravity. The irony of this post is that he retweeted this and made this statement from Sports Center, which is attached, of course, to ESPN, which Keith Olbermann used to work for. Shout out to DSB for the $1.99 super chat. I definitely appreciate it. He couldn't even bring him. He gave a backhanded apology. That's why I say it is very hard for me to take an apology from the likes of people like Keith Olbermann, because there's no meaning behind it. There really isn't. If you would have just, like I said, pay attention to this, the people in the chat. If Keith Olbermann did not say this, we wouldn't be having this discussion right now. This tweet right here is what kicked it all off. This is the tweet right here that kicked everything off. Yes, Red Harlow, this is live. This is in a premiere. To those who were in the chat, I know y'all used to me seeing do the premieres and everything, but this is a live video that I'm doing right now. I couldn't premiere style this one. This one I had to do live. My thing is Keith Olbermann, I'm not shocked, but I'm shocked that he actually kept the post up. But I'm not shocked that he didn't, if that makes sense. He left the post up. It's still up. This is still active right now. This is not a screenshot. That's why I played the video, so people won't say, "Oh, is this a screenshot?" No, he still has this tweet up on his page days later. He didn't even remove it, which lets me know everything he said right here was a bunch of BS. He wanted to leave this up. This is how he felt when he called her an effing idiot. That's how he felt in the moment, and that's still how he feels right now. Good evening, Joy. But like I said, this is where it started off at. This is only the beginning, y'all. We got some ways to go. This is only the beginning. So we're going to transition from Keith Oldfuck to another person. And this individual's name is Dave Portnoy. And shout out to Kid Gravity because he actually did a whole stream. Well, I don't know if it was a stream. No, it was a stream about Dave Portnoy. When I had found out about this, Kid Gravity said, Torian, please let me have that one. You said you can have Keith Olbermann, but please have Dave Portnoy. I said, you can talk about Dave Portnoy. Go ahead. But guess what? I'm going to talk about Dave Portnoy too. So Dave Portnoy, he's a part of this thing called Barstool Sports. And to my knowledge, it's a white supremacist haven. From what I gather, that's what it is. But he had some words too. He said, for all the dummies out there who don't understand why Angel Reese is classless. Now, I find it very interesting that he used the hashtag for classless. And it makes you wonder, I bet you if you went into Twitter and put hashtag classless and Angel Reese or just Angel into the search bar, you'll probably find a whole bunch of dub-ass tweets about her. But he said, Angel Reese is classless. It's because she taunted Clark with 10 seconds left in a game that was long over. Talking shit in the moment is one thing. Doing it when she did was classless, and that's why it's trending. Angel Reese, classless piece of shit. Now, mind you, this is the same Sports Center tweet that Keith Olbermann retweeted and put it on his page. So we had Keith Olbermann call Angel Reese a fucking idiot, and you got David Portnoy calling her a classless piece of shit. And then he comes back and says Angel Reese classless, and then he puts classless 2 more times in another tweet referencing her. He really felt some type of way and just had to, let it all out. He just had, like, in the moment, that's how he felt. And that's most likely how he still feels. And shout out to Seiji Hito because he actually did a video talking about David Portnoy. If it wasn't this morning, it was yesterday. And I can't retrieve it. But I think he doubled down on what he said right here. So he's pretty much unforgiving. Again, shout out to DSB. DSB, did you get paid for the $5 super chat? He said, don't hold back, family. Everything needs to be exposed. Oh, listen, I didn't hype this up for nothing. We only on tab 2. It gets more interesting from here. Trust and believe. I find it funny that David Portnoy, a classless individual himself, is trying to call somebody else classless. That would be the pot calling the kettle black. Like, they really felt some type of way because their great white hope in Caitlin Clark didn't deliver. What I found to be even more interesting is they still hyping up Caitlin Clark like she won. I'm like, she lost. She choked. Caitlin Clark is a choke artist. But see, they put all their hopes and their dreams behind her. But you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if people like Dave Portnoy and Keith Olbermann put money into the game to bet on Caitlin Clark and Iowa winning, and they lost. And they feel some type of way because LSU won. In case y'all are unaware, the entire starting lineup for LSU women are all black. The whole starting lineup, the whole starting 5 are all black women. So that could also be another reason why they feel some type of way. Because if you notice, the whole starting lineup of Iowa, was damn near the whole team is white. DSM Sinister said Portnoy is a big-time gambler. Well, my hunch might be correct. Rob said basketball is just like anything else where there is nothing to hold them up. They get beat badly. Right. Why do you think they keep trying to hype up, what's his name, that Luka down in Texas, down in Dallas? They keep trying to hype him up because they're trying to make, I swear, anytime a white male basketball player comes around, They are trying to make him into the next Larry Bird. I'm like, there's only one Larry Bird. And as far as I'm concerned, there's only going to be one Larry Bird. Right, funky Homo sapien. Yep. They keep trying like I said, every time a white male basketball player comes in, they try to make him another Larry Bird. But that's what Dave Portnoy had to say. But there's, of course, like I said, there's more. Now we got this individual by the name of Jose de Jesus Ortiz, where he has something. Now, I don't know who this guy is, but he got a blue check, and he came across my radar, and I said, let me go ahead and throw him in. They said he's an editor, former St. Louis Post-Dispatch sports columnist, former Astros, Mets, Rays beat writer, former national BBWAA president. And shout out to DSB yet again for us for the $3 super sticker. But you got this Jose again. Where's the black and brown coalition at? Non-existent. He said this is classless. So there's that word again. A, in the chat, is it safe to say that classless is going to be the new code word for the N-word? Is it safe to say? Because they already called her classless multiple times. They didn't say that for Caitlin Clark, and she was being classless too. The way they framing it, I don't know. I think they trying to lean and try to say classless is the new code word for nigga. I'm just saying. The way that they're framing it. He said, this is classless. Angel Reese is only 20, so she's still young. But taunting Caitlin Clark like this shows a pure lack of class. Win with class, lose with class, play with class. Clark's mom and dad can be proud that her daughter ignored the taunting. They raised her right. My thing is this. They keep saying taunting. They keep throwing out this word of taunting like Angel Reese went up to Caitlin Clark and gave her the middle finger and called her a B to her face or some other derogatory term, or tried to get in her face as if she was going to attack her. She didn't even do none of that. She wasn't even near her face to even throw a hit in it for it to connect. But notice what they keep saying here. Classless. They're taunting her. She's bullying her. Remember what I told people in a lot of my videos, whenever they want to use the big black boogeyman trope, do not think that that's just going to be stuck to black men. They will attach it if they have to black women. So what they're saying in this moment, what this guy is saying is that Angel Reese in this moment was being the big black boogie woman to this poor, defenseless, delicate dandelion named Caitlin Clark. We must stop her at all costs. And you want to know what the interesting thing is about it? They recently, they talked to Caitlin Clark, and she had no problem with what Angel Reese did. But I bet you they probably gonna say, they got to her, they got in her head, and they told her to say that. I'm willing to bet they probably said that. Sean, Auntie said, wasn't this whole doing the same thing? Yeah, she was. As a matter of fact, she did more. I think I saw a video where in a game a while ago, I think this was before March Madness, where she elbowed somebody. She actually made contact with somebody with an elbow. Angel Reese didn't touch this girl at all, not one time. And then Angel Reese said in an interview why she did it. She said because Caitlin Clark had did the thing like this to her, to one of her friends who I think plays for USC, and she felt offended when she did it. So this was her get back opportunity, and that's why she did it back to her. Red Hollow said white people line saying it's not. Of course they line and they gonna say it's not the same. They listen, that's them being on code. They gotta be on code because they gotta protect her at all costs. But what I found to be very interesting is that And shout out to Kid Gravity for pointing this out. You had a lot of people who buck dance a lot, who actually came to Angel Reese's defense. Emmanuel Acho was one of them, as you can see in this tweet right here. He says, so it was classics when Caitlin Clark did it, and she did it right here. As you can see, she did it right here. And this Jose dude came back and, like Red Harlow said it wasn't the same. Caitlin didn't chase an opponent around. Moreover, and shout out to Kenya F for the 499 super sticker. She said, moreover, I wouldn't say this is about competing. As you surely know from your experience, there's a difference between immediate outbursts and going out of your way to track somebody down to taunt them. See how they keep changing the damn rules? See how they constantly change and move that goalpost? I keep telling y'all, they move that goalpost any further, it's going to be out of the stadium in the parking lot. Shout out to DSB for another super chat. DSB is winning tonight. He said they think they can mock us and not get mockery back. That time over, we got next. Exactly. And people seem to forget. Angel Reese is from Baltimore, okay? We are from the same state. Granted, I'm like 45 minutes south of Baltimore, but I have family in Baltimore. I have friends in Baltimore. I went to school with people who are in Baltimore. Most people don't know Baltimore outside of The Wire, or the Orioles, or the Ravens. For some people, that's as much exposure to Baltimore as you know. And one thing you got to understand is that a lot of people in Baltimore are just like Angel Reese. If you want to see a Baltimore native, you saw one. That right here. This is a Baltimore native. And let me just say that Angel Reese comes from an athletic family. Her father played ball. Her brother plays ball at University of Maryland. She used to play at University of Maryland before she transferred to LSU, and now look at it, she got a ring. And her cousin, might I add, her first cousin plays at UConn. And what did UConn do? They won the men's division. So you have two first cousins that won the NCAA tournament for the women in the men's division. Amazing. Because I think they interviewed her cousin after he had won, and of course, you know, they typically asked him about what he thought, but I didn't listen to it though. It's poker, not pity pat. Said, I remember watching her at Maryland last year against Iowa. Now look at that. And she lost, it was clearly did, and now she came and got her revenge. Like they say, revenge is a dish best served cold. Gregory says, sounds like sports royalty. It does. It sounds like it kind of reminds you of Steph Curry and his family. You know, his dad was played basketball. I believe his mother, she was in sports. I think his sister's in sports. Of course, we know his brother's in the NBA, and so is he. So yeah, I can see that. But let's move on. We spent too much time over here, and we about to move. Well, actually, let's not move on. Let's move to this next part right here that involves the same person. Because remember what he said about Angel Reese and her being classless. Well, this is a tweet that he made days before on March 26th about Caitlin Clark. He said, Caitlin Clark is my third favorite Iowa Hawkeye. I married my favorite Iowa Hawkeye alum, and my second favorite Hawkeye is my mother-in-law. Go Hawks. This Iowa game against Louisville has been so fun to watch. March Madness. Now, keep in mind, this was after Caitlin Clark did the same thing he just called Angel Reese classless for doing. See, that's the thing y'all got to understand about Twitter. Twitter got some of the best detectives around. They can help you find anything if they want to dig enough, if it's important enough to to want to do it. Like I said, the internet is forever. Whatever you put out there on the internet, it's around for a very, very long time. Chris said that man called him Dave. He said Dave Porta Potty. That's a good one. Exactly, Donna. Especially Black Twitter. I'm telling you, them Twitter sleuths, they get their Dick Tracy kit. They got the magnifying glass, the hat, the trench coat, their little the little briefcase, you know, the little dust and everything, and they be ready to go in. So he thought he could run, but they got him right here with this tweet right here. He didn't call Caitlyn classless. But remember what he also said in response to Emmanuel Acho. That was different. Remember? That was different. Now it's different because the black girl did it. Let's move on from this one. Now, this one right here, and shout out to Till Dog 12 for the $5 super chat. He said, pull up summer wasn't just a one-year thing, mess around and find out. Now, this part right here that I'm about to show you is probably the part that pissed off so many people when it came to this situation. And that was none other than Jill Biden saying that she wanted to invite not only LSU, who won, but Iowa, who lost, to the White House. Are you insane? Never in the history of sports, in championships, have they ever invited the loser to the White House. What kind of dystopian tradition are you trying to start? And that's why I've told people before. Can someone put my Cash App in the chat for one mystery, please? Can someone put the Cash App in the chat for me? Because I can't put it in right now. Never has that happened. When the World Series champs go to the White House, it's just them. When the NBA champions go to the White House, it's just them. When the Super Bowl champs go, it's just them. When it's the NCAA champs' turn to go, it's just them. I told people before that the participation award had to be created by Karen. And that is a Karen-ass award. Some soccer mom Karen had to come up with that. Oh, everybody's a winner. No, everybody is not. Everybody is not a winner. You have a winner, then you got everybody else. Everybody else doesn't get to go. Just the winner. LSU should not have to share their victory with the people that they beat. What does this thing say? First Lady Jill Biden said Monday that she wants the defeated Iowa women's basketball team to be invited to the White House. In addition to the national title winner, Louisiana State University, she watched LSU's 102-85 victory from Iowa from the stands on Sunday night. I know we'll have the champions come to the White House. We always do. So we hope LSU will come, she said. But, you know, I'm going to tell Joe I think Iowa should come too because they played such a good game. Excuse me? Because guess what's going to... First off, would she have invited LSU to the White House if they lost to Iowa? That's the top question right there. Would she have invited LSU to the White House if Iowa had beat them? My guess is no. And she shouldn't. If Iowa won, LSU can't come. Just like LSU won, Iowa shouldn't come. Iowa keep their ass at home. That's just the point. And that's just how it should be. You do not invite the people who lost to the victory party. You just don't do that. Now, if Iowa's team wants to have something like a celebration for them getting that far, as far as a school doing it, or maybe the state doing it, then that's fine because, you know, they have the privilege to do that. But to invite them to the White House for this, no. That's not cool, because guess what's going to end up happening? Let's hypothetically say Iowa was to go. You know what's going to end up happening? Whenever they do these for these championships, that means they're going to have to, by default, invite all these other second place teams as well. Because if they don't, they're going to look back to this moment right here and say, well, you invited Iowa and they lost to LSU, but you know, we lost to the now NBA champs. Why can't we come? That's what's going to happen. So tread lightly with that. And to add on to that, of course, Angel Reese, being the Baltimore native that she is, had to clap back at her for that. With this, she said in response to that, she gave two simple words: a joke. A joke for thinking that you were going to have us be up there in that White House standing side by side with the losers. Are you kidding me? Now, what would be interesting, I don't know if they'll do this or not, if they wanted to invite another team there with LSU, invite UConn men at the same time, since both of them won. That would be the only acceptable thing I would take. But don't invite me if I'm on the winning squad to stand side by side with the team that lost. Are you serious right now? So you said that Jill invite San Diego because they lost 2. No, she didn't. Hold on, I'm gonna type the Cash App in the Okay, I typed the Cash App in the chat for those who needed it. But yeah, shout out to Angel for putting her on blast and saying, no, that's a joke. We're not going. I mean, what is this? And she's right. And you know what's so crazy? Because see, the thing is now Angel Reese is like public enemy number 1 to a lot of these individuals. So her even replying to that post and writing that it's a joke, people are still trying to come at her neck because they're being petty, even though they know she's right. I've even heard people seen people say, you know, she's right, but y'all know what happens after the but. She's right, but no, she's right, period. There's no but behind it. They lost. They don't go. Better luck next year. And that's all you can say to that. But let's continue on from this. And shout out to Kevin C for the super chat. I don't know what that translates to in American currency. He says, thanks for the work, good sir. Much appreciated. I appreciate you. Thank you. Let's move on to the next one. And that is this part right here. Because after this, you know, Jill Biden, she felt the sting. She said, and shout out to Kevin C for the super sticker. Thank you. I appreciate it. And AW1 for the super chat as well as the Cash App. I'm not going to say your name, but it says RS. Y'all know who you are. Thank you for the Cash App. So as you can see, this is from NPR because Jill Biden felt the sting. After outcry, Jill Biden's office says White House invitation is for LSU women's team. It shouldn't even have gotten to this point, but fine, it is what it is. It says it's customary for the winner of the NCAA Women's Basketball Championship to receive an invitation to visit the White House. But earlier this week, First Lady Jill Biden was all in to host both Louisiana State University and the University of Iowa following Sunday's game. And shout out to DSB again for the $2 super chat. This is now the First Lady has walked back her apparent dual invitation following lots of negative reactions across social media and television, as it should have. A particularly strong objection came from LSU star player Angel Reese, who called the dual invite a joke. During an event on Monday at the Colorado State Capitol in Denver, Biden congratulated both teams, praising them on their performance and highlighting Iowa's sportsmanship. And I'm going to skip that next part. This is Vanessa Valdeva, press secretary for the First Lady, later clarified Biden's comments on Tuesday morning, tweeting that the comments were intended to applaud the historic game and all women athletes. The office of the First Lady. See, now they're doing damage control. This is the First Lady looks forward to celebrating the LSU Tigers on their championship win at the White House. My thing is this. You can't just simply say that this was a mistake. This was a very well-written tweet. Let me highlight this and shout out to Jay Bubba for the $9.99 super chat. He said Jim Crow Jill showed her true colors, yet we keep voting for these quote-unquote liberal allies. Shout out to you, Jay Bubba, for the super chat. Well, based on how I saw people going in today, we'll see how that goes, but I'm not going to hold my breath either. She says, I know we'll have the champions come to the White House. We always do. So we hope LSU will come, the First Lady said. But I'm going to tell Joe, I think Iowa should come too because they played such a good game. That doesn't sound like a slip. That's not even a Freudian slip. That's a well thought out tweet. That's not a slip of the tongue. But again, like I said, keep in mind where all of this kicked off from. Shout out to Jermaine Smith for the $10 super chat. I appreciate it. Keep in mind where all of this kicked off from. Keith Olbermann. That's where it started. She had to have known that wasn't smart. That wasn't smart. Maybe she didn't know. I don't know. But the fact of the matter is that the damage is done. Moving on from that, we're going to talk about, and this is still stemming from what Joe Biden said. Shout out to V. Michelle for the super sticker. I appreciate it. Well, I got a lot of people in here tonight. I have right now, I have 527 people currently tuned into this live. I appreciate everybody who was in here right now getting this midweek roast that we're discussing tonight. I'm glad everybody is here. But Angel Reese came back again at Joe Biden and says that her team won't go to the White House, but would celebrate with the Obamas. I got to kind of put the record scratch right there. I'm okay if you don't want to go to the White House after what Joe Biden said. However, and shout out to, I'm going to say TW there because I don't want to say your name. Because that's the thing about Cash App, it'll put your government name. And I know some people don't want their government name out there. So TW, you know who you are. I got your Cash App. Thank you. And shout out to New Black Media Appreciation Month. I thank you. And we thank you. I'm all fine if you don't want to go to the White House. However, I wouldn't go to their house either. Personally. I wouldn't do that either. Maybe they can do some kind of, I already know they're going to do some kind of celebration down at LSU for sure. I already know they're going to do that. I know that they probably might even have some kind of celebration personally for Angel in Baltimore. And I'm going to be honest, if I get wind that they are going to have something for her, like if they made it public, I would actually take the drive to go up there to go to it. But I wouldn't go to them either. But you know what? I know I'm throwing her an interception right now. And shout out to BD again, Cash App. Again, I don't want to put your government name out there. Shout out for the Cash App as well. I appreciate it. I'm going to throw her an interception. She's young. She's 20. So she doesn't really know better when it comes to the Obamas. You got to think when Obama first got in, she wasn't able to vote either time. So I'm just going to leave it right there. But I wouldn't go to their house either. I'm just saying. Right, sincerely yours. They're coming from the same bird. You got to think Obama was president. Biden was his vice president. Yeah. So if you're mad at his wife, and I mean by Biden's wife, yeah. I don't think that will be a good look. But I'm going to ask the chat. Where do you think that LSU should go to celebrate this win? You know, they can't. I wouldn't go to the White House after what Joe Biden pulled. Where do you think they should go to have this celebration? Like I said, I know they're going to have something for them down at the school. The state of Louisiana is going to probably most likely have something, because that's going to look good for the state. That's definitely going to look good for the school. So they're going to most likely have a parade of some sort. Okay, Donna said Atlanta. T said Virginia Beach. PD said home. Red Harlow said Baltimore. Penny Lou said home. J Bubba said the FBA Expo. The Hidden History Museum. New Orleans or Dallas, Baton Rouge. Detroit, Cali, the campus. Well, I know they're going to have some at the campus. That's the default. Y'all said the Hidden History Museum, Louisiana. So, okay, so y'all throwing some... the old school said Trump's house just to rub it in. Trump ain't even at Trump's house. He said, when is Mardi Gras? When is Mardi Gras? Isn't Mardi Gras usually in February? Or maybe they can go to the Essence Festival, because I think that's in July. Yeah, so y'all throwing out some like very interesting places that she could go, but I wouldn't suggest going to them either. Just saying. But yeah. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to segue a little bit with this story, because remember, I titled this stream, "This is Bigger Than Angel Reese," because it is. So we're kind of doing it in an intermission, a halftime point right here. Ironically, halftime, basketball halftime. Okay. I wanted to show how Angel Reese's situation can apply to other people. Now, who remembers what happened last month at the Oscars with Angela Bassett? I'm sure many of y'all remember what happened last month at the Oscars with Angela Bassett. You know, she was nominated for Best Supporting Actress for Wakanda Forever, and she ended up losing to Jamie Lee Curtis. And they immediately tried to say that Angela Bassett was a sore loser, and, you know, she should have got up and clapped for Jamie Lee Curtis, you know, because even though she lost and people wanted her to win, she should have been the bigger person and still got, you know, the whole spill. And we know who was the main ones doing it. The reason why I'm bringing Angela Bassett up and I'm relaying it back to Angel Reese is because Angel Reese, while she's on the opposite end of the spectrum, she was celebrating and she was doing what she does, which of course is typical in sports. Caitlin Clark did the same thing. But when it came to Angela Bassett and she lost, they pinned the camera on her and tried to make it seem like she was so mad, and she really wasn't mad. She might have been a little disappointed, you know, because it's like, oh, you got me up here again, and then y'all do the same thing to me again. But remember, it was other women in there in that category too who had the same kind of facial expression, if not worse, but they honed in on Angela Bassett and they tried to paint this image of her being the angry Black woman. I'm glad I'm glad that the dust has pretty much settled with this. I mean, they'll probably bring it back up again just to be petty, but that was one instance right there. I want y'all to follow me here. Now, I'm going to show y'all another instance, and this is dealing with against sports. Actually, the next 4 clips that I'm going to show deal with sports, and I'm sure all of y'all have seen these clips before. So let me go ahead and play this for y'all right quick. Hold on. This. Who remembers this? I know many of y'all remember this right here. This is crazy to believe. This happened 9 years ago. I looked at the date. 9 years ago. Sheesh, time just flies by so fast. This was back when Seattle was playing San Francisco. And you know how old this was because they showed Colin Kaepernick there. This was before Colin Kaepernick did the kneeling. This was when he still had the low cut. And this is when Seattle had won the conference. And Richard Sherman was being interviewed by Aaron Andrews, and he was going off on Crabtree because of some stuff he was saying to him. And they tried to make it seem like Richard Sherman was being vocally combative with Aaron Andrews. He had nothing against Aaron Andrews. He was in the moment right there, and he was calling out someone who tried to put him on blast. And this was his way of getting back at him. But I remember what the media tried to do. They tried to say that this man was a thug. They said he was ghetto. They said he was all these other things. But I'm like, this guy graduated with a very good GPA. He has a degree. He's very intelligent. But the moment when he's excited and he's in the moment, they decided to say that he was a thug. He didn't cuss anybody out. He didn't come at Aaron Andrews or anything like that, but they tried to make it seem like that's what it was. I will never forget that. I will never forget when they tried to put that out there. Rob said Richard Sherman is a villain. Remember when he destroys right, and he did it in such a classy way too. I remember that clip. Yep, he did it in such a classy way. But you know, here's the thing: Black people aren't supposed to raise their voice even in a moment of excitement. We're all supposed to just talk like this, have our heads hanging down like this. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, sir. No, ma'am. That's what they probably wish we can go back to. The minute Black people lift their heads up, you get that. That is what they hate. They didn't like that. But we have some more, y'all. Again, we are at the halftime moment, at the halftime point. Now, who remembers this? Now, I can't play the audio for this because it has copyrighted music, but this was back when Serena Williams had won gold at the Olympics back in 2012. And some of y'all remember what she did, but I'm going to play it for y'all in case y'all forgot. Again, like I said, I can't play the audio because they start playing music in there. Yep, she hit the seawalk. Because as y'all know, Venus and Serena are from Compton. So they from the hood. So this was nothing for her. I think it caught people off guard that she actually hit that seawalk though, because we never seen her do it. So like when she did it, everybody around the world was like, whoa, where did this come from? But the thing is, she didn't just hit it out of nowhere. They played the music. I think it was an Ice Cube song. And she just did the seawalk right there on the green. I'm not even gonna lie. When she did that, I started laughing. I was like, what? I couldn't believe that she actually did it, but she was excited. But then I remember what the media had said about her when she did it. They thought she was gang affiliated. They thought she was gang affiliated. My thing is, what you know about that gang? What you been looking at? I was like, no, she was just excited that she won a very big match. Honestly, them white people didn't know what she was. You're probably right. They most likely probably didn't know what she was doing. And I bet you after they watched this video a couple times, they probably tried to go home and learn it. But that was another instance. But then there was another one too. And this involved another NFL player. Now, this is showing what they don't like whenever we don't give them what they want. I'm sure many of y'all remember this.
I'm here so I won't get fined. 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 I'm just here so I won't get fined. Hey, I'm here so I won't get fined. I'm here so I won't get fined. Hey, you better make more with your time. You only got 3 more minutes. I'm just here so I won't get fined. Hey, I'm just here so I won't get fined. I'm just here so I won't get fined. I'm just here so I won't get fined. Hey, I'm here so I won't get fined, boss. Hey, I'm just here so I won't get fined. Hey, I'm just here so I won't get fined. I'm just here so I won't get fined. I'm just here so I won't get fined.
And by the way, that wasn't a loop of him of the same clip of him saying it over and over again. That was basically a collage of him saying that at that same press conference. He did not feel like talking to reporters. Everyone remembers that. He did not feel like talking to reporters because he already knew what they was going to ask. So he said, you know what? I'm going to beat them at their own game. And that's exactly what he did. That slogan, well, that phrase, I'm just here so I won't get fined, literally became like a cultural phrase for a very long time. I mean, it was everywhere. You saw people mocking it in videos. You saw it on merch. You saw it on memes everywhere. And they tried to come at him because he did not give them what they wanted. He said, I'm not going to say anything to y'all. I'm just here so I won't get fined, because I know if I don't talk to y'all, they're going to send me a fine, and I'm not trying to pay the NFL nothing. So I'm just going to sit here and I'm just going to tell y'all that I'm just here so I won't get fined. That's the only quote and statement you're going to get from me. And it was at that moment that people realized that the media did not have a stronghold onto Marshawn Lynch, because they could not get him to do their bidding. And it made it to the point where they just had to give up and stop trying to talk to this guy and say, okay, you know what? He's not going to budge. We're just going to move right along and move on to the next person that's willing to talk to us. And he was like, okay. And that's just how it's been ever since. But I have one more clip that I want to show y'all before we get back into the main event. The halftime part is almost over. And that was of Naomi Osaka. If y'all remember, she was talking about her mental health and why she needed to take a break from tennis and how people reacted when she said that. And that was over a year ago. So this is very recent. And I also have to give a shout out to Vivian in the chat, because she brought up Simone Biles. They treated her the same way they did her. But shout out to Jay Cage for the $5 super chat. He said, Torian bringing the facts. I definitely appreciate it. Yeah, I remember this because they were putting a lot of pressure on her when she was going through something, and you can tell just by in this interview, she wasn't all the way there, and she had a lot of pressure put onto her to win and to compete, and she really wasn't all the way in, and they kept trying to push her, and then they tried to make her seem like she was the bad person or the bad guy for doing that, and they did the same thing to Simone Biles. I wanted to put that clip in here, but I couldn't get it. But yeah, they did the same thing to her too. And I'm like, you do realize this woman is a whole gymnast. If she's in a mental state where she can't really do what she's supposed to do, she can seriously injure herself. People wasn't trying to take that into consideration. Again, like I said, this is all bigger than Angel Reese, because these are all Black public figures, whether in sports or otherwise, and look at how they get treated whether they win or when they lose. And when I say lose, I'm talking about whether on the court or mentally. Because this part right here with Naomi Osaka and even with Simone Biles goes back to the point of they don't care about Black people's mental health. They don't care. You know, only white people can have mental illnesses and go out and commit these mass shootings. Let them tell it. Dylan Roof. Oh, it had to be a mental illness. Columbine. Oh, it was mental illness, possibly some bullying. Remember what just recently happened with Audrey Hale, and they tried to make that person a martyr. I think Afro Elite had did a video or a stream about, or a premiere going through Audrey Hale's history. And when I was looking at that, I'm like, oh, can someone please pull out the little tiny violin? Nate said, wasn't Biles a victim of that nasty? Yes, she was. I'm glad you brought that up. They don't talk about that nasty perverted doctor that was touching those female gymnasts, and Simone Biles was one of them. The one that's in jail for like hundreds of years, and rightfully so. Yeah. That perverted doctor to those gymnasts. That plays a part as well. But now the halftime portion is over and we are about to get back into the game. And I wanted to start it off on a good note when it came to this, and that is with a word from the LSU president, whose name is William Tate. Shout out to Hacksign KT for the super chat. He says, I got a dip, but take care, Chief. I appreciate you coming through. I want y'all to listen to what LSU's president, who is this guy right here. It's the LSU president, William Tate, is defending Angel Reese as she faces criticism from some over her taunting during the championship game. Listen to what he says.
My comment is Angel Reese is one of the very best players in this country, and she plays in a certain way with some swag. And if you have a problem with it, beat her. That's all I have to say. If you can't beat her, sit down.
That's all that needs to be said. And shout out to, I don't know who she is. I don't know if that's his wife or not, but I like that she backed him up just by chuckling, just by laughing. That was the seal of approval right there. But that was a word, a tiny word from the LSU president. He said, if you have a problem with it, beat her. And if you can't beat her, sit down. And thing is, many of them can't beat her, but they want to still stand and have their voice be heard. So I wanted to start it off with that, and let's keep it moving. Now, remember what I said about how UConn won, the UConn men's won, and we know how PC loves to get down whenever they win, right? It can never just be a regular celebratory thing. Everyone's just jumping up and down, cheering loudly, yelling, whatever the case may be. They may be running around and whatnot. No, we got to take it to the extreme. Check this out. So y'all see that, right? And shout out to Kendall for becoming a member. Hey, Kendall, you over there. You got to put the shoes in the chat one time. There's no music playing, but you got to put the shoes in the chat one time. But y'all see this, right? This was after UConn won. Remember what I told y'all? Win or lose, they gonna be destructive. Now, where is Keith Olbermann, David Portnoy, and that Jose De Jesus character to say that this was classless? That's what I'd like to know. Where are their antennas to say that this was classless and destructive? Judah said, yeah, they tore UConn's campus up. Oh, they ain't coming back. Hey, I wouldn't be surprised if this was tame compared to what else they probably did. Like I said, this is probably tame compared to what else they did. But yeah, I want to know why Keith Olbermann, Dave Portnoy, and Jose De Jesus, why they didn't say anything. I'm curious. Don't all speak at once. Let your voices be heard. Don't be quiet now. Because not only is this classless, but it's destructive. Who's going to pay for that? I bet you they ain't going to make them pay for it. They should. If I was them and they was on a scholarship, I would strip their scholarship money, their funds from them, and make them pay for that. Or maybe they want to reenact January 6th. Maybe that's it. Chat, do you think that's what it is? You think they wanted to reenact January 6th? They figured, oh, we couldn't go. So this is our opportunity to do it right here. One of the craziest things I've ever heard when it came to people, the usual suspects, doing what they do was when they had that pumpkin festival years ago. I'm like, how in the world do you riot at a pumpkin festival? It's a crop. How does one do that? How is that even possible? Like that just blew my mind. I couldn't believe that. I could not believe what I was watching when I saw that. Now, there is one thing that I did want to show y'all, because I remember when I was talking to you about the broken clock. Well, this is an example of one right here with Stephen A. Smith. Now, you know, this man has entered my bed bucking series multiple times. So when I heard that he actually was coming out to defend Angel Reese, I was legit shocked. And shout out to Celebrity Scandalous for the super chat. He said, "Oh, come on. Those kids were just having fun. They're blind to that behavior when it's them." Right. That privilege blind is very blinding. And shout out to you for the super chat. But let's go ahead and see what Stephen A. Had to say. I'm at like legit, like y'all might actually have to grab your chair for this one to avoid from falling over.
Ladies and gentlemen, I love Caitlin Clark. She's been a guest on this show. I think she's spectacular. I'm the one that's been calling her the Steph Curry of women's basketball, and she has done nothing to push that back. I mean, this young lady is spectacular. She's been great for women's basketball overall, not just college basketball, but women's basketball. I think she has the potential, when all is said and done, to be arguably the greatest ever, because when you have that kind of range and that kind of handle, and you can pull up from the parking lot like Steph Curry, for crying out.
Now, you know, he had to insert his all his extracurriculars for the white girl right quick before he actually gets to his point. They should insert the 5 minutes later sound effect from SpongeBob right here.
Out loud. I think that's something that you can transition to the next level, and it's going to be spectacular to see, and I can't wait to see it. But here's the reality of the situation. She instigated this kind of stuff. Let's call it what it is. She was waving. She was doing the Cena. How about what she did to Raven Johnson? She didn't just go into the lane and not guard her against South Carolina in the national semifinal. She waved her off. She didn't mind being disrespectful. So why is it that we're hesitant to bring that up? See, here's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to dilute your point by any stretch, Janae, because I get where you're coming from.
Oh, can we get to the point, Stephen A?
When Caitlin did it, people were celebrating it, and they were talking about nothing but her greatness. But then the second a sister stepped up and threw it back in her face, now you got half the basketball world saying, well, you know what? That's not the classiest thing to do. Yeah. That's not the way.
It was the exact same thing.
It was the exact same thing. Now, you can make an argument that if they're doing excessive celebration in her face after the game is over, all right, then you could make that argument. But you had people complaining about it when she was doing it during the game. Wait a minute. LSU told you before the game.
Yeah.
But we didn't like how she was acting towards South Carolina. She ain't going to do that against us. Correct me if I'm wrong, Janae. This is exactly what they were saying. Going into the game, they let the basketball world know, y'all think that this is going to be some storybook ending for her. Y'all must have got it twisted. We coming. And we're going to get at her. They told you before the game, then they got in the game, got all up in her in Iowa, was up by 17 at the half, and you're waving, you're doing the Cena, well, I ain't here, doing all of that other stuff, and you're bringing up what she did to the competition. Yeah. I'm so happy that Caitlin Clark handled it the way that she did, because in the throes of competition, she's fessing up to, listen, I ain't paying attention to that. They were getting the better of me. I was focused on the moment and the fact that I was with my teammates. But that's all she could say, because she kind of instigated this. And the fact that hasn't been brought up.
Okay, Stephen A., we get the point. My goodness. That man goes on and on like the Energizer Bunny. Like, his point could have stopped like a minute and a half ago. We get it. But not to be outdone because of what he said right here, there was this individual by Marcus Towns, never heard of him, who had this to say. He says, I support it when she did it standing at the free throw line with 50 seconds left in the game. But, remember what I said to y'all about that but? And he wrote it in all caps, walking and hunting her down. Look at the verbiage, y'all. Walking and hunting her down as if she was Elmer in an Elmer Fudd costume, getting ready to hunt Daffy Duck or Bugs Bunny. Walking and hunting her down for the last 30 seconds of the game. Doing the gestures is not sportsmanship. I'm sorry. I love trash talk, but come on, win with, there's the word again, class. P.S. Of course, leave it up to Americans to involve the issue of race. Who is this Marcus Towns character? According to his bio, it says pro basketball Orthodox Christian. He looks melanated though. But he said, of course, leave it up to Americans to involve the issues of race. We know what he was trying to say. We know exactly what. No, this Marcus Towns person, not Stephen A. Smith. This Marcus Towns person wrote this. And of course, you know, he had PC all in the chat agreeing with him, like this person right here says, finally, someone sees it for what it is. The taunting, I understand, says actively seek someone out to taunt as the clock winds down. Now that's different. If this happened on NBA, NFL, there would be a melee that would ensue. Stephen A. loves to pull the race card itself. So he's talking to his audience right now. Kid Gravity said, these are the participation Sambos, right? Jay Barrett said, why are you trying to deny the element of race? Exactly. Again, remember where all this started at. They love to say, I always tell them, whenever they say it has nothing to do with race, 9 times out of 10, it most likely does. Most likely it does. But let's move on from this character and talk about Marcelus Wiley. This one right here. Check out what this fool had to say. And shout out, I think what Kid Gravity, I think it was you that tagged me into this. Kid Gravity, shout out to you.
Dare to challenge her or anybody to show me a reputable place that actually called her ghetto. Ooh, I hope not. Or called her hood. Now, I understand there could be choice words. There could be dog whistles everywhere where you're like, you didn't say it, but you said it. But at the same time, only thing I take from what she said is obviously she felt that people were coming at her because of her color. That wasn't fair. They weren't coming at Caitlin Clark like that. But once again, I don't know everything that happened to you, Angel Reese, and you don't know everything that happened to Caitlin Clark. But in general, let's have this conversation. If you felt that way, then I understand where you're coming from. But why are you coming at Caitlin Clark like that if she's not the one who did that to you? You see what I'm saying? Your fight is with someone else. Your fight is with others.
Before I let this continue, this is my first time actually listening to the whole clip, but I want someone in the chat to tell me, and ironically, I got him right when he was bucking his eyes. I want someone in the chat to tell me, who does Marcelus Wiley sound like right now as he's defending Caitlin Clark? I'll give y'all a hint. If y'all have been watching what's been going on YouTube, it's a particular PC YouTuber who a lot of black men have been defending. Go. What does Marcelus Wiley sound like he's defending? I want y'all to put it in the chat. They should all be the same answer. Y'all paying attention? I want y'all to put it. Observant got it. Observant was the first one that got it. Kid Gravity, I know what you mean, but you got it. RG Titan, Popular, so on. So okay. If y'all said the answers that I was looking for, that's exactly what it sounds like. Doesn't it sound just like that? Especially with what he just said in the first 47 seconds. It sounds just like that. And you could attach Marcelus Wiley to any one of those fools over there that's defending her, and you would attach Caitlin Clark to that individual. And that's exactly what he sounds like right here.
But you brought it to Caitlin Clark because you were mad at that. And that's how we usually always like. We got a problem at home. We got a problem at home. Why? Because we had a problem at work that day. The boss came at you crazy, right? And you're like, oh, I had to eat it. I had to eat it. Everybody coming at you crazy during your day. And then you go home. Guess where your problem lies? at home. You take it out at home. You took it out on Caitlin Clark, but Caitlin Clark wasn't your problem. She just was able, in your eyes, to get away with something that you felt that you were going to get demonized for. I think you kind of confused those things, but you're young.
Oh, Marcelus, what you spent the last minute 23 seconds saying a whole bunch of nothing. What was the point of this? Can someone in the chat tell me what the point of this was? I think he just wanted to hear himself talk for the sake of hearing himself talk and look into the camera to see his shiny milk, well, his ashy milk dud head just buck his eyes and just babble for almost a minute and a half. I think that's really all he wanted to do, because nothing he said in here made no sense. And shout out to Cyberdyne for the Cash App. I can say that because I know that's your username. So shout out to Cyberdyne for the Cash App. Andrew to say he sounds stupid. He really do. What point was he making? He was just talking for the sake of talking. Still Kevin Tree said give him a fez. He does sound like that. He does sound like he probably will be, I'm gonna leave that one alone. Let's move on to the next part. And this is actually, the next part is one of the last things that someone sent me as it pertained to this whole situation. And you know what? I was waiting to see what this person was going to say, because we know that they had something to say in opposed to this. Shout out to Great Filibuster for becoming a member. I definitely appreciate it. And that is none other than Fatlock. Yeah, Fatlock just had to throw his weight around, and if God forbid he actually does do that, then we might all be in danger. But he wrote this op-ed piece on The Blaze. Now, I want y'all to keep in mind, The Blaze is where Saltine Queen used to work at. That should tell you all you need to know about this company. But he wrote this op-ed on The Blaze where he said, and we're going to read it. He said, Whitlock, Caitlin Clark is Tiger Woods, while Angel Reese is Fuzzy Zoeller. The basketball establishment is reacting to Caitlin Clark much the same way the golf establishment reacted to Tiger Woods 25 years ago. Already, I'm annoyed. Most of the establishment is overjoyed. They see the opportunity, attention, and cash the Iowa basketball star can bring to the women's game. And then there's the contingent of bigots, the people fearful that Clark's ascension will diminish them. Is he trying to say that black people are scared of her? Is he trying to say that black people are somehow in fear of her ascending? And he wonders why whenever I do another bed bucking video on him, he's going to get the infinity symbol. Some people got to get that infinity symbol because you just know they're going to have so many entries. You got to stop counting. You lose count. Him, fake him, and most likely Stephen A are going to get the infinity symbol the next time I make the thumbnail for them. South Carolina head coach Dawn Staley and LSU center Angel Reese are the leaders of the latter group. They're Fuzzy Zoeller, Tiger Woods triggered Zoeller. Now, shout out to Dawn Staley, by the way. I wanted to mention her. Since he brought it up, shout out to Dawn Staley because she stood up for her players because they tried to come at her players next with some nonsense as well. And Dawn Staley had to check them reporters. So shout out to her. Now, notice this. Dawn Staley and Angel Reese, both black women, and you have this very obtuse, improper fraction built individual by the name of Jason Whitlock, who literally is running in line to defend Caitlin Clark, who probably doesn't even know him from a can of paint, and throws both Dawn Staley and Angel Reese under the bus. The crazy part about it is he compares Caitlin Clark to Tiger Woods, who we know he calls himself Caucasian, but we know there's some black there on his dad's side. Caitlin Clark is lily white on both her parents' side. He literally compared Caitlin Clark to Tiger Woods, a man who isn't fully he's not even fully white because his mother is Asian, to a man who for all intents and purposes, doesn't have any white in him, to a white girl, to a white woman, while comparing Angel Reese to a white man. Think about that for a second. Like, really think about that for a second. And shout out to AW1 for the super chat. He says, that's fat like for you saying stupid stuff. Is Poker Not Pity Pat said Dawn Staley, Angel Reese, and Kim Mulkey are all Tauruses. Nice. Love to hear it. Mike Mellis-John says Tiger Woods has champion caliber status. Caitlin Clark doesn't. Good point. Tiger Woods has won many U.S. Opens. Caitlin Clark, on the other hand, I don't know what trophy she's won. Can someone point on a collegiate level? Can someone point that out to me? What it is they keep bigging her up to try to achieve this status that she has not yet reached herself. But let's continue to see what else he's talking about. He said, do you remember Fuzzy? He won the 1979 Masters and the 1984 U.S. Open. More than those victories, Zoller is remembered for the racist and mean-spirited comments he made toward Tiger Woods during the final round of the 1997 Masters. Now, pay attention to this. Dawn Staley and Angel Reese did not say anything derogatory to any of the people they were addressing. So for him to try to compare this guy to Angel Reese and Dawn Staley, there's no comparison. Again, that's a false comparison. He said he's doing quite well, pretty impressive. Zola told reporters that little boy is driving well and he's putting well. He's doing everything it takes to win. So you know what you guys gonna do when he gets in here? You can pat him on the back and say congratulations and enjoy it, and tell him not to serve fried chicken next year. Got it. Now reading that quote, I think I remember this because I think it was fried chicken. I think they said collard greens as well. Because at that time, Tiger Woods was going around calling himself Kablasian. It goes on to say Zola snapped his fingers and turned away from reporters. He then turned back to say, or collard greens, there it is, or whatever the hell they serve. Caitlin Clark, a white basketball star dominating a black sport, triggered Staley and Reese. Again, if you close your eyes, you will swear that a white person wrote this. He said, Caitlin Clark, a white basketball star dominating a black sport. How did that trigger them? How in the world did that trigger them? Because they checked some people? Anyway, he said Clark's Hawkeyes upset Staley's #1 ranked South Carolina team Friday night in the semifinals of the Final Four. Following the game, Staley deflected attention away from her coaching errors and Clark's magnificent performance by complaining that unnamed reporters called South Carolina players thugs and monkeys. Staley framed Iowa coach Lisa Bluter harmless comment about a rebounding bar fight as racist. Well, I applaud Dawn Staley for calling it out, and I'm glad she did. So I'm guessing, good thing he's not a coach, because he would probably tell them to let that slide. He would probably tell them to just let that just float on right on by. I applaud Dawn Staley for checking those reporters for what they said. He would prefer that she didn't even do it. Staley invented a racial narrative out of thin air. Corporate media sold Staley lies and gossip. Y'all, like I said, this is all Jason Whitlock. This is his op-ed piece right here. A white reporter egged Staley on, suggesting that the unsubstantiated criticism of Staley's players was quote-unquote dangerous. LSU players picked up where Staley stopped. The Tigers claimed they were disrespected and upset about the way Iowa defended South Carolina. I'm not joking. The fact that Iowa sagged off South Carolina along the perimeter disrespected LSU. That was offered as part of the justification for stalking. Again, there they go with this word, stalking and taunting. Peep words that they're using. Stalking and taunting Clark at the conclusion of LSU's victory in Sunday's championship game. Barstool Sports' Dave Portnoy and political pundit Keith Olbermann responded to Reese's classless taunting by topping Reese's lack of class. Via Twitter, Portnoy called Reese a piece of, you know what, Olbermann called Reese a effing idiot. And I'm sure Jason just agreed right along with it. Portnoy's and Olbermann's tweets justify ESPN Jalen Rose connecting the criticism of Reese to Staley's post-game whining. How Angel Reese is being vilified by many highlights exactly what Dawn Staley was talking about, Rose tweeted. And then he says, no, it highlights the stupidity and lack of emotional control of Portnoy and Olbermann. It highlights how social media has ruined public discourse and baits people into dismissing common sense and restraint. If Twitter had existed in 1997, I'm sure I would have called Fuzzy Zoller a piece of poop or an effing idiot. Luckily, I had editors and I wrote a rational column explaining the obvious animus, jealousy, and bigotry motivating Zoller's comments. Most people in mainstream media rebuked Zoller in 1997. That's not the case with Angel Reese in 2023. Why would they rebuke her? Because what Angel Reese did and what this Zoller character did are two different things. That's why I said it's a failed comparison. It's a false comparison. He said most of the corporate media are afraid to criticize Reese. She's black. Everyone fears the race card. Y'all decide. You're right, Nubian. Jason is a lost cause. It says ESPN Ryan Clark's preemptively played the card via Twitter. Is if you praise Caitlin Clark as competitive, fiery, and passionate for doing the "You Can't See Me" celebration and are criticizing Angel Reese for the same we already know. And he says, what do we actually know? See, now you're trying to play dumb. We know that Caitlin Clark briefly waved her hand in front of her face in the Elite 8 game against Louisville. The gesture wasn't directed at any particular player. Are you sure about that? It says Clark claims it was directed at an Iowa assistant coach. We know that Clark plays with a bravado, a style, and an air of cockiness that mirrors Golden State Warriors guard Steph Curry. Again, the Steph Curry comparison came right back up. Clark is a bit of a hot dog. We know hot dogs are annoying, not classless. And you know what? It's interesting that you brought up hot dogs as a reference, Jason Whitlock, because we probably know what you do with your hot dogs. I'm just saying. Interesting he brought up food as a reference point. We know what you probably do with your glizzies. He says, I'm not really a fan of either. I couldn't tell by the way he's writing this article and kind of praising Caitlin Clark, but okay. He said, but one is worse than the other. What Reese did was classless. Now, isn't that a contradiction? I'm not really a fan of either, but one is worse than the other. What Reese did was classless. What? It says Reese reminds me of college football stars Johnny Manziel and Baker Mayfield. The two Heisman Trophy winners were widely criticized for their on-field antics. No one called the criticism racist because Manziel and Mayfield are white. In America, it's appropriate to criticize the poor behavior of white people. We rationalize and sometimes even celebrate the poor behavior of black people. Remember, this is a guy who has gotten on platforms where he has talked bad about black women. This guy does not like, he doesn't like black people, but he hates black women. I think that's the best way to frame it. Jason Whitlock does not like black people, but he hates black women. Let's just get that out the way right here. That's why he's talking the way that he is. This man has always had an innate disdain towards black women. And I'm sure there are black women out there have never looked this man's way. That's really all it is. He says we rationalize and celebrate the behavior we desire and expect. We want black girls to handle success in a classless manner. We want young black people to prioritize their skin color above all else. Following Sunday's game, Angel Reese bragged about being ghetto and hood and inspiring other black girls to do the same. She said, I'm too hood, I'm too ghetto. She explained, y'all told me that all year, but when other people do it, y'all don't say nothing. So this is for the girls that look like me. And see, he misinterpreted what she said. When she says, I'm too hood, I'm too ghetto, she's saying that's what people were referring to her as. She wasn't saying that she was too hood or she was too ghetto. She was saying that's what other people were saying about her. But this man doesn't know context clues. Reese sounds as misinformed and bigoted as Fuzzy Zoller. The game of basketball is dominated by black athletes. There's no shortage of basketball role models for black kids. There's a glut. What basketball lacks is a homegrown white American. Oh, here it is. Here it is, y'all. This is it. This is the one. This is the one right here. What basketball lacks is a homegrown white American star who plays with flair and style. Basketball needs a Tiger Woods. Remember, he compared Caitlin Clark to Tiger Woods. Dawn Staley and Angel Reese would rather see the game forego the growth Clark can deliver than see the spotlight on a white star. There it is. There it is. I want y'all to put some explosion emojis in the chat. Put an explosion emoji in the chat, please. There it is. We read all of that just to get to this statement right here. That's what he wanted to say. I'm so glad I'm doing this right now. I'm so glad I'm doing this right now. Jason Whitlock wants the great white hope. And he will throw any black athlete under the bus to make sure that it happens. This actually go again. Remember what I said. This is bigger than Angel Reese, because let's keep this in mind. While in this article, in this op-ed that he wrote, he might be targeting and going after Angel Reese and Dawn Staley. But think of all the black athletes that Jason Whitlock has attacked over the years. How he feels about Angel Reese and Dawn Staley is how he feels about Colin Kaepernick, Kyrie Irving, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook. He wants a white athlete to eclipse all the black athletes that he has always attacked. And he said it right there in this paragraph. That's what he wants. This man hates black people so much. This man probably doesn't have mirrors in his house. Kobe Bryant as well. This man hates that black people naturally are gifted when it comes to athletics. Granted, not every black person is an athlete. But every black athlete every black person who's who's athletic can be a star in their own right. He hates that Angel Reese is that good. He hates that Dawn Staley is a good coach. So in order for him to attack, he says this. The thing he said, Alan, there you go. See, there you go. Again, what he said right here is how he feels about every, black athlete. Let's continue this. We almost at the end. He said, we've seen all this before. It will be interesting to see if the bigots break Caitlin Clark. And that's the end of the article. And how ironic. He doesn't have a comment section. Y'all, his little blog or whatever does not have a comment section because he knows that people will light him up. He knows this. One last thing I wanted to show y'all, and that's just the word from Angel Reese herself. And that's pretty much the interview that Whitlock was referring to on in his little rag that he wrote.
I'm happy. I mean, all year I was critiqued about who I was. The narrative, I don't fit the narrative. I don't fit in the box that y'all want me to be in. I'm too hood. I'm too ghetto. Y'all told me that all year.
Now, I didn't mean to stop it, but I want y'all to pay attention to something right here. Whitlock completely misquoted her, because he started at the point where she says, I'm too hood, I'm too ghetto. But he completely omitted that first part leading into that, which is why I was able to interpret as that's what people were referring to her as too hood and too ghetto. Let's play this again.
I'm happy. I mean, all year I was critiqued about who I was. Nobody, I don't, the narrative, I don't fit the narrative. I don't fit in the box that y'all want me to be in. I'm too hood, I'm too ghetto. Y'all told me that all year. But when other people do it, y'all don't say nothing. So this was for the girls that look like me, that's gonna speak up on what they believe in. It's unapologetically you. And that's what I did it for tonight. This was for the more than it was bigger than me tonight. It was bigger than me. Twitter's gonna go in a rage every time. And I mean, I'm happy. I feel like I've helped grow women's basketball this year. I'm super happy and excited. So I'm looking forward to celebrating the next season.
And there it is. And Afro said right there, they've been talking about her all season. Of course they have. When you're great, you're going to have haters. And like Rob has always said, she has embraced villainy. So they really going to hate her now. I don't know if any of y'all are on Twitter or not, but I immediately follow her. And I'm going to tell you this right now. She's playing, she's going back and forth with them, but not in a way that y'all think. I watch how she tweets. And when she puts something up, she knows that it's going to trigger people or certain people that have feel some type of way towards her. She knows exactly what she's doing when she puts certain tweets out. Like, I know one tweet that she put out, it said, I'm a black queen. I said, I can only imagine what people are saying under that post. Or saying, oh, I've reached this amount of followers on Instagram and stuff like that. Your simple post. And she knows that it's going to trigger people. She said it right here. She probably is like, them people are about to bust a blood vessel. Just if I wake up and say good morning, they're going to be like, it's not morning. It's technically still night. But like I said, she pretty much now is a marked person because of this. They're going to criticize every little thing that she does. This woman could find a cure for cancer and they be like, that's not it. This is it. That water is not hot. It's cold. But on the temperature on the thermometer, it says 80. I said that it's cold. I know where I'm exaggerating it, but let's be real here. But like I said, this young woman is from Baltimore. If y'all don't know how Baltimore people are, this is just a taste right here. Trust, there are ones out there that are way more cold-blooded, or as Rob would say, embraced villainy than she has. Trust and believe me on that one. I know. But y'all, we have made it to the end of the roast. I hope that everybody enjoyed their plate. I hope everybody is full. I hope that everything was good. I hope y'all are good for the next week or so. Shout out to everybody that's in here. This is probably one of my most engaging live streams that I've done ever on my channel. Like, I had almost 700 people in here this evening. Shout out to y'all. And I hope that if y'all are new to the channel that y'all subscribe, because, you know, the stories don't stop right here, but I had to do this as a live stream this evening. I had to. Shout out to everyone who subscribed to the channel. Shout out to everybody who donated. You know, I had a lot of super chats. Shout out to everyone who hit the Cash App. Shout out to the new members that joined as well. I definitely appreciate everybody coming through. I know it's the middle of the week. It's late for some people, but I'm glad people stayed around. I didn't want to go too late because I know some of y'all got to go to work in the morning. This live, of course, will be staying up on the channel because this is seen as a special live. I will still be going live as regular on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hopefully I have the same amount of people show up on that live as I did today, but I won't hold my breath. Y'all enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the rest of your week. Be safe and be one. And also, again, shout out to Angel Reese. We can't wait to see what your future is going to be like going forward.